Hey guys, Deneen here with Story 4 of December Daily 2024, where I'm working with this cut file that I created that says Holiday Movies. And I did that on a piece of gold cardstock. So it's a little bit thicker, but I wanted it to be thicker, so I'm okay with that. Here are some of my journaling. This is not actual journaling, it's just little summaries of each movie. Those are done on 2-inch squares. I then have some blank 2-inch squares, and I have some 2-inch photos. And then these squares are 2¼ inch. All right. And then this paper from Ali Edwards has 9 cuts in it. So this has cuts in it so that I can slide these squares inside, and that's going to be their home. And then that's going to go on top. So let's start out with the 2-inch plain squares. So all I'm doing with these is using my corner rounder, and I am rounding the two corners, only two corners of these 2-inch squares. And they are going to be very helpful in sliding my squares inside of the background paper. So let's put these on my scoreboard and score them at 1/2 inch. So the two edges that are rounded are down, and I am scoring at 1/2 inch. And then I am going to put these on my MISTI, where I have a stamp from the review story kit, and I've placed it so that I could put this in the corner. So I'm just putting the 2-inch square in the corner with the rounded corners down. And I have this set so that I will be able to stamp on every single one of these in the exact same spot. And I'm using StazOn ink for this because I'm going to be doing some coloring with a little bit of a pen, and I don't want to have the ink smear. So that's all I'm doing here is just the same thing for 9 of these. So 9 of these are going to be stamped. And then I am going to show you how these are going to be kind of like, it reminded me when I was doing this, it reminded me of a shoehorn where you're trying to get something inside of something, like your foot inside of your shoe, but you need a little bit of help. So you'll see in a couple minutes here how after I stamp these, I am going to go ahead and make the score on them nice and crisp. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold them where I scored them, and then just run my scoring tool along that fold. And each of these, and I know it's really hard to tell looking at this, but that background paper has 9 cuts in it. And once I start putting these in, you will see where each of those cuts are. One of these to each of the cuts. So there are the cuts, and I'm sliding it in and pushing it all the way to the right side of the cut. Nope, I think it's the left. No, it's the right. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, but I'm sliding them all in the same spot on each of the cuts. So you'll see I'm sliding the bigger part behind, and then I'm putting adhesive on that 1-inch part, and I am adhering that down. And this is going to act to help glide my pieces into these cuts when I am going to be putting them in their homes. Okay, so again, sliding them all so that they are lining up, putting adhesive on the 1/2 inch and folding over. I think I then come back, yeah, and I just put a little bit of adhesive. Nobody's going to see this back, but I'm putting a little bit of adhesive to keep those larger pieces down. Okay, so now I have these in place. So do you see these larger 2¼ inch squares are going to go inside of there, and they are going to be helped into that cut by those pieces hanging over. So now I'm going to work with these 2¼ inch squares by putting some adhesive on one side, putting a 2½ inch piece of ribbon, and then folding the ribbon over and adhering it on the other side. And these are going to act as little tabs You can see here as I'm doing this, I'm going to do it 9 times, so you can see it several times. There's the adhesive, there's the ribbon, turn it over, more adhesive, bend the ribbon. And that's it. And that'll be done 9 times. Now these are 2¼ inches. They will fit very nicely into the cuts on my background paper. This was not part of my original plan. My original plan was to print the journaling directly on these 2¼ inch squares, but I messed up and I ended up printing the journaling out in a 2 by 2 inch size. And so they were smaller than I wanted, but it actually turned out really good for me because you'll see here in a second that once I get done putting the ribbon on each of these 2¼ inch squares, I'm then going to take those 9 text boxes and I am going to adhere it on one of the sides of each of these. Okay, so that's how they fit in there. Okay, we want them to fit nice. Now here are the squares with the journaling. Like I said, these are 2 by 2 squares. It wasn't meant to be this way, but it kind of turned out really fun because after I get done adhering each of the text boxes to the 2¼ inch square, again, on one side, on top of the ribbon, I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and I'm going to put just one little stitch between the text and the ribbon. And I think I'm going to use red because we're kind of working on a little bit of green here. And I figured I'd mix in a little bit of red here. Just, again, just for some interest. It's not necessary. These will totally hold. You don't have to sew. You could use your tiny attacher. You don't have to use anything at all. Okay. Let's go over to my sewing machine. And there you have it. One little red stitch. That's it. And now I'm going to pair each photo, and these are all just movie photos, with the little summary that goes along with it. So I'm putting the photo with the summary, and then I'll take my adhesive, turn over the little tag, and I'll place the photo on the other side. So one side is a photo of the movie, the other side is a little summary of the movie. So that's, again, 9 of these. These will all be put into their little cuts on the background. This is a great idea for not just movies, but for music. You could put some of your favorite covers on here and put the name of the song and the artist on the back. You could also use something like this. This idea is great for just, an event that you went to, or ornaments, or just, again, 9 places. You could fit 9 photos, 9 stories, 9 of anything that you really want to, right? So this isn't just for holiday movies. I think it would be a great page for so many different things. So now I'm just putting these in there just to see what it looks like. I'm super happy with the way it turned out. And I'm getting my little green pen. This is just a regular everyday green pen. And I am going to color in the stars. So again, this little stamp says review, and then it has 4 stars that are open. And I am just coloring them in green based upon how I liked the movie. So some of them are going to get 4 stars, some of them 2, some of them 3. None of them had no stars. I colored a star in on every one of them, and I don't think any one of them had 1 star. I've enjoyed all of them so far, some more than others, but I just thought it would be fun. This is kind of like my feelings about it, right? The facts are on the back. This is what the movie was about, and my feelings are just represented by the number of stars that I gave to each of these movies. And I'm using, again, a green pen. You could use red. You can color it in with black. There's different options here. I just thought that green, there's so much red, so a little bit more green didn't hurt. So now I have the holiday movies die cut on top, and I'd like to choose the number 4. So you'll see here I originally choose this black number 4, and I put it on just a circle that I punched out from a piece of patterned paper. And I initially think I'm happy with it. I'm like, okay, I like this. But you'll see in the end, I change my mind. So I went over and I grabbed one of the stamp sets from this year, the tree set, and I found a star that is very similar to the stars on the background paper. And even though it's a little smaller, I thought it would be fun to do something to the back side of my die cut. So I'm trying some red. Again, I thought too much red. And then I pull out my green. and I'm going to see if green will make me a little bit happier. And it turns out that it does. And I believe this is the Mackenzie ink that I'm using. So all I'm going to do is just stamp the star, and I'll put a piece of paper underneath because I know I am going to end up wanting to go off the edges. And then I'm just going to randomly stamp green stars on the back side of this die cut. And that's just going to kind of tie the two things together when this is like open, and also bring a little bit more green into it using the same shape. A little bit smaller, but the same shape. And I was a little weary when I first started because I thought once I start, that's it. I have to commit, and I don't have any more of that gold cardstock left. So I knew that this was going to be a risk. So I'm really excited how it turned out because I think it came out really, really cute. And just again, random stars, some of them going off the edges of the letters, just kind of filling in here a little bit. You can do something on here with embossing, and you can put maybe some phrases in some of the longer spots as well. I just went with the stamping. So really happy with how that turned out. Pull out some, I think these are chipboard phrases from last year's release. So I'm looking to see if any of them kind of make me happy. I think the Have Yourself a Merry Christmas, I think that's what it says. I think that one made me happy. So that one I think I'll put in the lower right hand corner. There's my circle and there's my 4. And then I pulled out a piece that says a few facts and a few feelings because again, one side of the card has the facts and then me and the stars that I put on there are my feelings. So there we go with the circle, and I will adhere the 4, which again, I will tell you, I ended up changing and taking away, but initially I was okay with it. But I looked at it for a while and it kind of bugged me. So I ended up changing it, and you'll see that at the end of the video. But here is the facts and feelings. That goes there so nicely. And then of course that phrase that I'm going to place with some score tape in the lower right hand corner. And I think that's all I do for now, but I do again do some changes off camera. So I'll go through them all with you now, just to see what it looks like in my album. So here we are with the changes that I made. Not a whole lot of changes, but I don't know. I think the black I wasn't happy with it. So I ended up pulling out another 4 with a little bit of gold on it. And I punched out a circle from red patterned paper, and I added another chipboard phrase to the word holiday. And then when you open it up, this is what it looks like in the album, with the part that I stamped with the stars and with all of the photos of the movies in their respective spots. And again, I think it came out really cute and I'm really happy. When I do something like this, I always think, geez, this would be great for a Christmas story, like the day of Christmas. But I obviously won't be using it again this year. And then here, just really quick, if you want to take a look, you can see that you could also turn them around. So this kind of shows us not just the photos from the movies, but it shows you that there are words on the other side. And I think this is how I'm going to display it in my album. I think I would like to have some of the photos showing and some of the words showing. I also like that you can see the stitching because that is not visible. I did not stitch on the photos, but you can see the stitching, and that's another fun element that the viewer can see. So that is it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me once again. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I did create the holiday movies cut file that you could find in my Etsy shop. It is in a bundle with 2 other cut files that you could choose to use, but they do all come together. I've included also the background cuts for those of you that use Silhouette. You can totally do this with a ruler and a craft knife. You absolutely do not need those files, but I figured since I had already created them, if there's anyone who uses Silhouette, they totally could take advantage of that. There's a 10x8 version and a 6x8 version as well of the background files with the cuts in them. And the actual word art, the holiday movies, holiday memories, holiday music, they will fit both in a 10x8, as you can see here, but they will fit into a 6x8 as well. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, we'll see you in story 5.